Right. So I'm recording the meeting, and so we've had some requests, and I'm going to add something in of my own as well. So I've been rehearsing this week on Zoom for a production that we were planning to tour in the summer. We might still tour it because it's an outdoor show with social distancing. So it just depends on whether they get the vaccinations done to a high enough degree for everybody. But in the meantime, what we are doing is, putting together a sort of some extracts of the show. Would you like to see a short extract?
Yes, please.
Because, you know, it's interesting to see. It's interesting to see what you can do. So let me show you. Right. And I want to go to Kure Kure and videos. There we go. So Baba and yeah, okay.
How's that look?
Where are we taking it from?
So okay, what we've got here on the screen is myself, obviously, and down on the right-hand corner is Dominic, who is our video production man. So we are rehearsing on Zoom a scene that the actors are then going to go outside in their separate houses, in their gardens, and film themselves doing each part of the scene.
Oh, wow.
But before we do that, and then Dom is going to edit them together. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a scene where this show is called Kure Kure, and Anna, who is in the right-hand corner, it's about her life growing up in Zimbabwe and then in the UK. And originally it was a one-woman show, which we toured 2 years ago. But now we've got Bruce, who is in the left-hand corner, and he is playing various characters because it was such hard work doing a one-woman show. She needed somebody to play some other characters. And he also plays her alter ego or totem, who's like part of her ancestry. But in this scene, he is playing her dad. And when she grew up, she didn't really see her dad very much. But one day she bumped into him in the marketplace, and this is based on that encounter. Like you are now. So looking to the side, we don't see your face so much, but maybe Anna can still be sideways, and you're in that position, but looking down as you are now.
Mwanangu, I'm glad you're doing well at school. I bet if you played football, you would be the first soccer star in the whole of Rugari.
I would beat all the boys if they allowed us to play. When we play Pada and Rakaraka, I'm the champion.
Champion indeed. A little bird tells me that you love your music, but Anna Mwanangu, school first. Here's 20 cents.
Oh, that's
Buy
nice.
yourself some sweets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think that would work.
You can also do that thing where you reach outside of the shot. So the dad would go, here's 20 cents. And then Anna would go, thank you, you know, kind of like as though it's actually. So
when I play Pada and Rakaraka.
So I'll show you what that looked like. Here we go.
Here's 20 cents.
And reach outside.
Yeah, sort of, you need to sort of stretch your arm out. Yeah, like
yeah,
that.
that's it. And then Anna, you reach your hand outside the shot of your camera. So reach further away from you.
Further away?
So yeah, so your hand goes like that.
It just goes off shot.
Oh, out of the shot.
Yeah.
All right.
And if you do that at the same time, it will look like, you know, we can imagine that you're passing.
Yeah.
You're very ambitious, you two.
Anna Mwanangu, school first. Here's 20 cents. Buy yourself some sweets.
Tender.
Yeah,
I can see that. But it looks good. It's a nice little moment, isn't it?
Yes.
So you can see that, you know, it is possible to rehearse. Obviously, that is 2 actors, so it's not too complicated. If you had a lot more actors than that, then obviously it gets a bit more complicated. Do you have any questions about that or comments?
The struggle that I'm having with my students rehearsing online is I find them very passive. It's hard to get them up and active, and for some reason the screen subdues them, and that's one of the challenges. I've been like, no, get up, move around, make gestures, and they tend to want to be very static. I don't know why.
How old are they?
This was with grade 4 students, so they're 9.
Yeah. Well, I suppose, what characters are they playing?
So we were doing fractured fairy tales.
Yeah.
So they were taking on different characters from fairy tale stories. And I thought that they would get really into it. And I had a few who did, but many of them were very intimidated by the screen. And I don't know, they sort of forgot that they were on stage. So I had to keep on reminding them, you're on stage, the audience is looking at you, you have to stay active in the role. And that was challenging for them.
What about doing a sort of character movement workshop with some music? Have you tried that?
Yes, I think that would be a great idea.
Because music is something that kids really respond to. And so, you know, actually something where, so maybe to do something which didn't involve speaking any lines, but to find some music that is quite appropriate for different characters. So you could have evil witch music, and you could have creepy wolf music, and you could have Skippy Red Riding Hood music, and get them to just, you know, move around in their rooms as the different characters. That might be interesting.
Well, actually, now that you say that, I think removing the text and just focusing on the movement is a great idea.
Yeah. And do you do any improvisation around these stories?
We didn't. So the first unit that we did was we used animal masks. So we did a lot of voice and movement with music and trying to move like different animals. And then we moved from that to the fairy tales. But I think I didn't link the two very well. Remember, this is my first time.
Okay, well, that's right.
So I think now that you say that, I should have made more of a transition between the two, I think, to encourage them with their movement.
Yeah. In fact, what the activity that we're going to do in a minute, called Animal Characters, ties into this absolutely perfectly. So we will look into that and see how it might help you. Yeah, I think music is really good, and especially if you find some, you know, that some music immediately gives you a sense of different atmosphere. So that's what I'd recommend. And let's play the game of Animal Characters. So I'm just going to share the screen again and go to my website, because it is the game of the week, dramaresource.com, and game of the week. There we go. Animal Characters. So here are some celebrities who might look a bit like animals, just to kind of get you going. Mr. Bean and an owl, and what's her name? Miley. Is that Miley Cyrus, who I just saw there? Okay, so what happens? This game is based on an improvisation that I did years ago with some actors, and what we did was we had a doctor's waiting room, and the idea was that each of them had to secretly think of a character, and they had to be a human being waiting to see the doctor, but they had to gradually reveal what kind of animal they were, you know. So they started to, you know, so somebody might pick up a newspaper and sort of go like this, you know, sort of do something a bit like an elephant, or someone else might I don't know, scratch under their arm or something and go, ooh, ooh, ooh. Or, you know, anyway, so they just started to do little animal traits like that, which was really funny. So in this game, on the Zoom version that I haven't actually tried yet, but what we're going to do is I'm going to send a message to each player giving you the name of an animal, and I'm going to give you a situation, and I want you to improvise a situation and just find some little ways to show what kind of animal you are. So you might be somebody waiting for a bus, but you are also a giraffe or a spider. So I'm going to ask for 2 volunteers. Who would like to try this out?
Me.
Okay, that's good. Let me just stop the sharing. And so somebody else to play. I'm going to just send Josie a message. Okay, I've sent her a message. Who else is going to play?
Good.
Okay, Sarah Jane, let me just get your name up on the chat. And I'm going to just, oh, okay. All right, so. Right, have you both got your animal, your secret animal? And now I'm going to give you a location. So you are somewhere that we don't normally go to at the moment. You're on holiday at the beach, and it's a lovely sunny afternoon, and your 2 friends who are at the beach. Okay. And off you go. Nice day, isn't it? So you can talk, Josie, by the way. So I'd like you to kind of interact and talk a bit to each other.
Hi. I like your bikini.
Oh, it's nice to see your bathing suit too. It's a bit sunny today, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm not sure if I like the sun so much. We might need to find some shade.
Yeah. How about that tree? It's got some holes in it. That tree over there? Yes.
Sounds good.
Actually, the holes.
Maybe we could sip on some cocktails.
Okay. Fine, but I need to get some nuts first. Okay. Let's.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right, I'm going to stop it there. And does anybody have a guess as to what the animals were, or what any of the animals were?
Is Josie a squirrel?
Kind
Almost.
of. Well, not exactly, but similar.
But close.
Are you a chipmunk, Josie?
No.
Yeah, but that was very close as well.
Yes.
What about
I was
Sarah,
going to guess a squirrel as well.
Yeah, and Sarah Jane, what was she?
Snake.
Yeah. She was,
And I was getting a bit scared.
yeah. So Josie was a hamster. Did you not notice her blowing her cheeks out?
The little cheeks, of course.
Yeah. So it's quite interesting though, because if you didn't know that they were being animals, they would just seem like slightly strange people. You know, and you do see, you see people like that sometimes. So let's have 2 more people. Who would like to have a go?
Before we get started, can I ask one question? Sorry.
Yeah. Yes.
So in this game, is that okay to have some gestures to show the traits of the specific animal, or
yeah, I
we
think
just
that would
only
be good.
use
So, the snake could have been doing this sort of thing. I think it would be nice to go over there, or they could do it with their body, couldn't they? Yes, let's go and have a look. And actually, you know, we're all doing what Sarah Jane's children did. We're all just sitting in front of the camera. So we could actually get up and move around. And then, so I think the next two
That's
people
good.
should do that.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to choose some animals. Okay. Okay, I've got them. Right, I'm going to send messages to people and
Oh.
to Jenny. Okay. Right, so they've got their animals. Hello, Dion, and welcome. And we're just doing, did you hear what we were talking about, Dion? Oh, yeah. Okay, you can watch and you'll soon catch up with what we're doing. So now I'm going to pick a situation. Okay. Oh, that might be a tricky one. Okay, you are, Jenny, you are a hairdresser, and Yan Zhao, you are having your hair done by the hairdresser. Okay. All right, off you go.
Okay. Okay.
Hello, how would you like your hair done today then?
Well, you know, the New Year is coming. Of course, the Chinese New Year is coming. I really like to have my hair cut. So, and also I'd like to dye it, to have my hair dyed, and also have it permed.
So you want your hair curled, you want it dyed, and you want a different style.
Yeah, but watch out. I've got a lot of work to do. So you work on me, you have a lot of work to do because I have so much hair.
Okay, I hope I don't scratch you.
Any ideas? I have no idea about it actually.
I'll do my best not to scratch you while I do your hair.
And Jenny, you could add
Okay.
in a little bit of vocal sound linked to your animal, if you can think of how to do it.
Okay. Howl. Howl.
Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, look at the hair on my legs. Look, what can you do with it? I've got so much hair on my legs.
That's not my job. You need to go somewhere else for that.
Okay, I'm going to stop you there before it gets too personal. But no, that was very funny. It was very good. So can anybody guess what the animals were?
Jenny was a wolf.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
what one that was.
I was thinking maybe a lion.
Lion, maybe.
No.
But
No?
hair on the legs.
Well,
Yeah,
if you
very
had-
long legs.
If you had a magnifying glass, you could probably see lots of the hair.
Oh,
on the
I
legs.
see.
A spider?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So yeah, that was unusual. Would Linda and Dion like to have a go? Yeah, I'll give you both an animal. I won't be too cruel on you. I'll find some decent animals to give you. Okay, I'm going to. Oh, I know. Yeah. All right. I'm going to send you each an animal.
Is it coming through on the chat?
Yeah, it's going to come through on the chat.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
So now I'm going to just have a look on the web page and choose. Okay. Dion, you are a waitress
Okay.
in a restaurant, and Linda, you are a diner in a restaurant. Okay, being served. And the rest is up to you.
Can I have a bowl of water?
Hi, how can I help you? What would you like today?
Do you have any bones?
Any bowls? I'm not sure we have
And
bowls.
bones? Do you have any extra bones with just a little bit of meat left on them?
I'm not sure we serve just bowls with meat. Let me have a think. Shall I check with the chef?
No. No.
Oh. Okay. Anything else you might like to try from the menu?
I would like biscuit.
Definitely have biscuits. I will go and find it for you.
All right, well done, both of you.
Brilliant. Yeah.
Okay, great. So what were they?
A cat and a dog.
Yeah, a cat and a dog. So there we go. So just to say that Josie also suggested that you could do this with characters from a story. So for example, with characters from Winnie the Pooh. Would you like to tell us a little bit about that while I find your PowerPoint, Josie?
Yeah, sure. I just thought I made a PowerPoint with images from the characters of Winnie the Pooh, because well, I based it on what David sent us about the game, it being like some celebrities imitating animals, and I thought it'd be helpful maybe if we had these animals, these creatures, and a picture of them, and it's a good starting point maybe, and it's just funny because we know most of us know the characters from Winnie the Pooh, and yeah, it would be funny. You could guess obviously who they are. I think not all characters are well known from there, but I just thought if you showed that, if you were on Zoom with the kids, you showed the PowerPoint, and then you get the kids to choose a character from there. So you got Eeyore and Rabbit and Gopher and Christopher Robin and the owl, and they all have like different expressions. Tigger is always like really exuberant and everything. Yeah, I just thought it might add something to it.
Sorry. Yeah, so just thinking about that, and also thinking back to the comments we had about how do you get kids to really get moving.
Yeah.
Maybe a good idea would be, for example, with those fractured fairy tales, to give each child an animal to go with the character.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily have to be 100% fit with the character, but that might help them to think about moving, or for example, if a fractured fairy tale was acted out by a donkey, a rabbit, and a tiger, what would it be like? And then again, as I said, going back to the beginning with the music, you could just get everybody at the same time to be an animal. So you could play some lively music, and they have to all be rabbits. So they're all jumping around at home being rabbits at the same time. Then you could stop them, give them another animal. And then I'm just thinking about this off the top of my head. Once you have introduced, say, 3 or 4 different pieces of music to them, each of which is related to an animal, you could then surprise them and play them in a different order, so they have to try and remember which animal goes with which piece of music. Okay. So that they're, it's more of a game than anything else. So you kind of trick them into getting better at at movement for characters. Yeah, so that's quite a few useful ideas, isn't it? I think. Very good. So I've got one other, I'm going to move on to another activity, but before I do,
Oh, Dave, just one
just
thing.
take some comments and questions on what we've done.
I just thought maybe you could share it in the chat, the PowerPoint, so people
That's a
can
good
use it,
idea. Let me just do that right now then.
so they can download it.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Nothing. It's just a little silly thing.
Let's get the chat window up. Oh, I know how to do it. So you go chat. I know. Need to select everyone and then file, your computer, downloads, animal traits. Yep. So it's uploading, and you should see it appearing as a link in your chat window anytime soon. So let me just, I'm going to do a share again, share screen. And going back to the website and drama games. I go to this one, which has a bit of a boring title, but is quite an interesting activity. So this is about how we communicate without words. So non-verbal communication. And it comes from part of a lesson plan that is in my new book. And in the book, there's a story called The King's Sentence. And it's all about a little girl who lives in a kingdom where every year the families have to give their half of their produce and half of their eggs and milk and everything else to the king. And she doesn't think it's fair. And one day when they go to the palace, she says so. And the king gets really cross. And he says that nobody should be allowed to express their opinions anymore. Nobody should be allowed to talk. So he bans all words from the kingdom. Nobody is ever allowed to use words again. So what I do then is to talk to the children about what it would be like if you couldn't use words. And I like to remind them that we already have lots of ways of communicating that don't use words. So nodding our heads and shaking our heads, which in different cultures can mean the opposite thing. In certain Asian cultures, side to side means yes, whereas in many Western countries, side to side means no. But can you think of any other gestures that we use? Can anyone make some gestures that we use to communicate without words? Yeah, that's good. Yeah. We can all copy it as well. Let's get involved. So somebody else can. Yeah, so we've all done the thumbs up. Anyone else got one? Yeah. What's that one? Oh, thumbs down. Yeah, thumbs down. Okay.
In Arab culture, this is a very common one, which means like hang on, wait, like don't rush. It's okay. Which is funny because in Italy, this is an insulting gesture.
Yeah.
Are you Italian? No.
No, my husband is Lebanese. My husband is Lebanese, and so he makes this gesture a lot. It's a very common gesture in Arab culture. But he had a student who was Italian who came up to him after a class and got very angry at him for making this gesture. And in Italy, it's sort of a challenge. It's like not a nice gesture.
That's funny.
But in Lebanon, it just means wait.
So, and what about, how would you say I'm hungry? Oh, and what's Dion doing? Let's see, Dion.
Oh no.
Oh no, I shouldn't have said that. Or I hope the teacher doesn't see me laughing.
Oh.
Yeah. So what about I'm hungry? Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
you will touch your if you are hungry.
Okay. What about I haven't got any money? How would you communicate that? Yeah. Or yeah, that's the old thing is getting the pockets out, isn't it? So another one could be what about come here, please?
Okay, now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Something a teacher might use.
In Chinese, in Hong Kong, they do this one.
Does that mean come here or go away?
Yeah, come here. No, it means come here.
Oh, right.
They don't like this one.
No.
Yeah, they don't like that one.
In some cultures,
I think
very
that's
rude.
all of Asia, because in Arab countries also this is very impolite.
Yeah.
This is how they hear.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Yeah. So what you can do is what I've done before is I've made a number of cards with different sentences on and then given them out to pairs to see if they can find the way of communicating. So for example, one pair would have pleased to meet you. So they'd have to find different ways of communicating without words to communicate these sentences. And of course, you can also look at sign language, which you may not realize, but just like ordinary languages, they vary completely across the world.
Yeah, that's not very helpful, is it?
But a lot of them do have universal cross-referencing, but some of them don't at all. And again, even in Britain, for example, there are regional variations in sign language, just like there are with dialect.
Yes, true.
So that's yes.
Any sign language.
That's no.
Okay.
So yes, it's like a nodding head. No, it's like that. And I'm sorry. Is that and
does it matter which hand you use?
Pardon? No, no, I don't think it does. But no, it doesn't too much. Some of them I think it does, but what else? So bicycle.
Okay. Yeah.
But you can look these up online, and kids like to learn sign language. What else? So if deaf people go to the theatre, what do they do at the end of the play to show they enjoyed it? Exactly. So if you ever go to a theatre which has a show for deaf people, that's how they will show their appreciation, because if the actors are deaf, then what's the point of clapping?
True.
Yeah. But also, so what I did with that, I also developed that onto situations where, for example, I'm a shopkeeper and I asked kids to come into my shop and to see if they could buy something without using any words, just to see how much they could communicate. And then I made it very difficult for them to do, so that they had to work really hard. So Josie, I would like you to come into my shop, and I'm going to send you a message actually to tell you what I want you to buy.
Right.
Then you're going to try and buy it from me without using words.
Okay. Right.
Right. And stand up as well.
Wait. Okay, so.
Oh, no. Ah, okay. Ah. Anyway, that's the idea, is that, you know,
Make it hard, okay.
yeah, I'm making it hard work, which is funny for the kids, you know.
Yes,
So
yes.
her instructions were to buy a banana, which she did do the mime very well, I have to say.
Okay.
So I was trying to misinterpret it, but she made it quite explicit.
Hard to make it misinterpreted.
Yeah. So after demonstrating that, I just divided the kids up into pairs, and they took it in turns. One was a shopkeeper and one was a customer, and they each had to try and buy something from the shopkeeper without using words. And so I did this in the middle of the story and then took them back to the story afterwards. So it kind of gives them, you know, it's a way of expanding from, it's a kind of animated, dramatized storytelling, I suppose, where you tell part of the story, then get them to do some activities related to it. Anyway, so that's what I wanted to talk to you about. But also I have had one question today for an issue for discussion, which is from Yan Zhao. So I'm going to read actually the message that I got, because it summarizes it very well. Here we go. So she is currently working for a drama session, which will be in person rather than online. And she wants some suggestions. It's a 5-day drama workshop, and she's got some ideas so far. Step 1, she's going to choose a story. Step 2, organize drama games and activities for each 1.5-hour session. And step 3, bring the language to life by reflecting on the story. And step 4, show what the students have learned from the 5-day session.
Good.
So what she wanted to know was whether I thought that was a good idea, and any suggestions for arranging the content and ideas into the 5 days. So I've just used your words there, but would you like to add anything to that, Yan Zhao?
Well, I think that's detailed enough. And also I'm curious, like for the 5 sessions, what should I focus on for the first day? Because I don't think it's a good idea to go straight to the story on the first day, because I need to make the students get used to the drama games, and also to let the students know what will happen in the drama session. Because for my students, they were brand new. They don't have any drama experience before, so that would be the first time for them as well, and it's the first time for me. So I'm curious how I organize content for each day, and also for each 1.5 hour session, what should I focus as well?
Well, I could give you some ideas, but I'd like to take a break and pass over to other people, starting with Dion.
I was just going to ask, how old are the students? Did you say? And sorry if I missed.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mention that the students are all aged about 10.
Okay.
Like 10, right. 11.
And so they're upper primary, and you're, for us, I don't know if that's the same for you. And is it just a story, or is it a particular theme, or is it just you choose what you want to do?
Yes, I'm gonna just choose at their level, probably free story could be a good idea, because if I make it too hard or difficult to understand, it's not gonna work in the class, I think.
Yes. So do you have any stories in mind?
Yeah, I've talked about this with Josie, and she gave me ideas, like a story of the 3. Oh, I forgot it.
3 little pigs.
Yeah. 3 little pigs, or goats, or the story about the 3 goats, like really gruff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I'll have a think, and other people can respond. I might have a look at some of my resources.
Yeah, okay. Well, that gave me some time to think as well. So what I would do is I would think about what I wanted to achieve on the final day.
Yeah.
So, for example, on the final day, do I want a performance?
Yeah.
If I do want a performance, what kind of aspects would I like to see in that performance? So, for example, would I like to see movement? Would I like to hear songs? Would I like to see masks? You know, would I want to do some physical theatre where the students are pretending to be objects and trees in the forest or whatever it might be? So I would separate out all the different aspects that I might want in the story. And then in the first couple of days, I would do games and exercises which would introduce them to those techniques.
Related, yeah.
So, for example, moving to music, wearing masks. Jenny?
For the first day, if you've never met them before, some good getting to know you type exercises would be good. And also story if they don't know it already, so then they're familiar with it as well.
Yeah, they are familiar. Yes, they are familiar with each other. Know each other. Even though they have the separate personal tutorial each time, but they are friends.
Okay. Have you met them before though?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
They're her students.
Yes.
And so this is in person. And how many children will there be?
There will be about 5 or 6.
Oh, right. Really quite a small group. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is just something I did when I was teaching in a primary school that always worked really well. And I also used to teach with Stagecoach as well, and it always worked really well with them. But I don't know if they'd know it, so it depends where you're based. But Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is quite a good thing. Sorry?
But it's too hard. She's in
Is
China.
it too hard? Okay.
Yeah, it's too hard. Too
yeah.
Too cultural.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I mean, the other thing then is to think about what language they need to learn. So if there are key phrases like trip, trap, trip, whatever it is, trip,
that's it.
trap, with the goats going over the bridge. So they could practice those lines almost like tongue twisters, or maybe add some movements to them. So they're a bit like action songs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone else like to throw in some thoughts?
So you're kind of thinking fairy tales, really, but I suppose it's the level, isn't it?
Yeah.
But there's so much you can do around fairy tales.
Yeah, just really simple ones,
Yeah.
I was suggesting, I have this book called Do and Understand. There's lots of stories in that, but they're not really fairy tales, and maybe they're too simple. I suggested that to you, didn't I? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you could try and with your fairy tale try and do a version of Grandmother's Footsteps, but maybe with some of the characters. That might introduce them to some of the characters as well.
Yeah. Good idea.
Do you know it, Yan Zhao?
Yeah.
Sorry, there was a pause. I didn't hear it.
Yeah, I realized. So do you know the game of Grandmother's Footsteps? It's where one person stands at their back and everybody else has to try and creep up towards them from the other side of the room. And Grandmother turns round, and if she sees anybody moving, they have to go back to the start. So that's the traditional game. But Jenny's suggesting that they could be different characters creeping up on Grandmother, I think. Is that right?
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. So like you combine the animal characters in this game, right?
Yeah.
Like move like animals.
Yeah. So the idea is with Grandmother's Footsteps that if somebody manages to get up to Grandmother, they tap her on the shoulder or him, and then they become Grandmother and everybody starts again. And
Okay.
it's a really interesting game to play because young kids and adults as well, actually, will try all sorts of dirty tactics to win. So they'll do things like hide behind other people. You know, so somebody's creeping up and then grandmother turns around and they just hide behind someone else. Others will run as fast as they can and try to get the grandmother in one go.
Yeah.
And others will be really, really slow. So it's interesting to talk to them and point out the different tactics that they're using.
Yeah. Actually, we have the Chinese version here. It's called like asking a wolf, what time is it?
Yeah. I've played that way. What time is it, Mr. Wolf? Yeah.
Time is a wolf.
It's dinner time. Yeah. Okay, Dion.
So this is another idea I've reminded myself of, where I just did talk to them about how do you create a story and direct them to come up with, you need characters, you need an environment, and you need a situation to happen. And then I'd get them to choose a fairy tale character. So maybe again, that might be something they can choose themselves. Then I'd give them the environment. So my suggestion in this particular time that I was teaching this was in the main hall of a big castle. And the situation is there's a dragon in the woods and he came up to the castle last night looking for food, i.e. people. And then from then you can let them improvise as fairy tale characters if they have an understanding enough of fairy tale characters. So maybe this could be your final session. So you introduce, depending on how much their knowledge is, but fairy tale characters in earlier sessions and use stock fairy tales that they play out. And then in the final session, they can choose a fairy tale character. You put them into an improvisation and they have to act it out. And I mean, yeah, I would say with a group of 6, they probably all want to be in one group. But if they're really outgoing and confident, you could split them into 2 groups of 3 and then do sharing of work at the end.
Yeah. And then they can watch each other.
Yeah. I can copy this and just pop it into the chat.
That would be really nice.
Oh, thank you.
No worries.
And I mean, in terms of warm-up games, 10-second objects is my #1 favorite game, just because all kids love playing it. And you can also incorporate it into the stories. So you just call out the name of an object and they have 10 seconds to make that object out of themselves in the group. And you can do it with 2 groups of 3, or you can do it with a group of 6, but 2 groups of 3 is quite good because then they can see what each other did. And then they can also invent objects for the other group to guess. And then also you can choose objects that are in the story. So you make a bridge for the goat.
Really good.
Or a river or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Not many in that story actually, but yeah.
Or a pot for the wolf to land
in the 3 Little Pigs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good.
And then of course my other top activity, which everybody does, but everybody knows it, freeze frames.
Yes.
So it's kind of boring to say freeze frames, but they really do work. And they especially work because they're very quick, and I often use them with fairy tales. So I will divide the class into groups and give each group a fairy tale, and they have to talk about it and choose 3 important moments from the story and make a freeze frame for each of those moments. And then they show them back and the other groups have to try and guess them. And you could still do that with 2 groups of 3, because you could have Hansel and Gretel, which has 3 main characters, the 2 children and the witch. You could even have Cinderella, because you could have Cinderella and the ugly sisters in one scene. You could have Cinderella and the godmother in another, and Cinderella and the prince, So those are quite good because they also challenge children to think about the structure of stories.
Beginning, middle, and end. Yeah.
And then what I do is when they show the scenes back, I use action clip, which is where you clap your hands and they bring the scene to life for 10 seconds. And if they're not used to doing improvisation together, then that's really good because it just makes it so easy for them. They don't have to pre-plan anything. They're already in the freeze frame. You just say, right, 10 seconds, off you go. And they just start moving as the characters. They can talk to each other. And then you say freeze, and that's it. So Jen is just saying she's got to go shortly. So thanks for coming.
Jenny.
Nice.
Bye, sorry. Bye.
Bye.
See you another time. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Right. So Yan Shao, do you want to ask anything or comment on those ideas?
Okay, thank you for the lovely ideas here. Just to double check one idea here. So do you think it's a good idea that if I use the day to focus on the sound with all the activities or the games, and the second day then I move on to train the students to do more with the movements, and the other day with some other thing like the language focus or the physical stuff? Do you think it's a way to organize the session in 5 days?
Yeah, I think that's a good structure. I mean, you could put them all in together, but actually that's very focused. So that could be quite good.
Okay.
And yeah, so with sound, sound could be recorded music, but it could also be them making soundscapes with their voices to create the atmosphere. Linda.
When you develop themes over several days like that, I like to revisit. So it's a building, so it's scaffolding it.
Yeah.
So that you're taking a theme and you're working with it individually on any of the given days, but you're also bringing back and revisiting what they've already learned, so that they're carrying that through, and then you can have that culminating exercise that brings it all back together.
Yeah. Good one. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Dion.
Personally, I would start with movement first though, and then sound, because I think, and I know that age, they are just starting to become slightly more self-conscious.
Yeah.
This is just me, but I would definitely go for physical first, because normally they're quite happy to be more physical, but just using their voice, maybe less so. And it's easier to express characters physically. So you can summarize the characters. So, you know, you can, with fairy tales, you have the princess or the stroke prince. So move around the room. I'm sure it was you, David, in your book, you call it a walkabout. Has that phrase come from your work?
Not exactly.
Previous.
But I might have called it something else. I'm not sure. Tell me more.
So like you say, right, we're going to do a walkabout, and you give them, right, you're going to walk about as the prince or the princess. You know, the character the story happens to, going to walk about as a villain, going to walk about as maybe a dragon or some kind of animal. And they find it quite easy to do walkabout, but then you could do, like David was saying before, when you clap your hands, you get them to freeze, and they have to keep that character in the frozen picture. Then the next day you could add to that, you could do the walkabout, then the clap and the freeze, and then you can say, now come up with a line that your character would said if it was faced with a dragon. Then they can start thinking about voice. Definitely, obviously building it with the music and the soundscapes as well. But I think it's easy. It's an easy entry point to focus on the physical.
Yeah.
And I think also, even at that age, like, you know, you can get them warming up. It's nice to do some warm up with them if they're up for it. Sometimes you sense they're not, but, you know, just doing the stretches of the body and that kind of stuff. And then you can just say, stand, you know, as you stand, which we would call neutral, but, you know, they're a bit young to know that. So you say, stand as you stand. Right now, to think, stand, how would you stand if you were a baddie, you know, and take that in. Then what would your facial expression be? And again, the physical comes out. And then the next day, you could build from physicality, facial expression, then into voice. Yeah, I'd work on the
Ah,
physical first, personally.
Mm.
And if you want to get kids animated, one really great little warm up is called Rubber Ducky. Don't know if you know it. Say, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then your legs, feet, and then go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, legs, and then 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. I mean, I'm not really very good at it, to be honest, but they love it, and they all get confused, and they get into giggles, which is great for warming up. You know, if you're there in person, yeah.
Yes, definitely.
I always feel that one works really well.
One game that I played, I don't know, probably about 40 years ago or something, that I really loved when I first met some of the drama advisors in Norfolk. They played this game, and very simple thing. It was about the game is that you say, I imagine that I am a wizard, and I only allow certain ways of moving. So first of all, you're allowed, when I clap my hands, I want you to move around the room and move in any way you like. So it can be low down, it can be high up, it could be slow, it could be sideways or backwards. And then you clap your hands and they freeze, and you say, now the wizard has taken away that way of moving. So you have to invent a new way of moving. So each time they've got to come up with something completely different. And I remember playing that a lot, and really, kids really like that game.
Yeah, I imagine.
And it really pushes them, because, you know, initially they'll just do things like jumping up and down or hopping, and they'll think that that's really interesting. But then you know, once you say, right, now you're not allowed to move in that way, they have to think, oh, I could move on my bottom, or I could roll over, or, you know, whatever it might be.
So whatever they're doing, they're not allowed to do it anymore.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
right.
It's really that the wizard takes away that way of moving.
Whatever it was, yeah.
Yeah, because everybody will be doing something different.
Yes, right.
And eventually they're thinking, oh God, what's left? You know, how can I move? But yeah, it's a very kind of lively game.
Yeah.
And I can see that people have put in some stuff in the chat as well. So Dion's put in some different ways of moving.
Nice.
Yeah, that was the warm up to that lesson that I did at the action freeze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. Anything else? So we've actually had our hour is up, believe it or not. So we've had an action-packed hour. Any final things anybody wants to say or ask? No, then that's brilliant. Because I know some people are going off to work now. Some people are going to bed. Yeah. Thanks everybody for coming along.
Let me ask you one thing.
Thank you so much.
Chat. Are you going to send us a chat?
Yes, I'll send you the. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'll send you. I'll put the chat on the Facebook group. Is everybody on Facebook?
Yeah.
On the Facebook group. Yeah, I'll put it on there. Great. Okay then.
Nice to see you all, guys.
Ladies.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. That was amazing. Bye.